BBC Radio Berkshire with the excellent Prince Little Red Corvette, and it's 20 to 5 now with John O'Holmes on your Thursday evening. I hope I find you well. And I think a lot of us would like to be able to look into a crystal ball and figure out what's in store for the next 6 months. Oh, to have a crystal ball right now. Well, in Maidenhead, a very special crystal ball is being auctioned off today. It was used by the famous Brighton fortune teller Gypsy Lee, and here to tell us more about it is Richard Harrison, from Dawsons Auctioneers. Evening to you, Richard.
Good evening. How are you doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you. I hope you are too.
Yes, thanks.
Tell us a little bit about the ball then.
Well, it's a wonderful thing. It's one of those classic stories. A gentleman came just to the front door, said, I've got something unusual for you. I said, OK, let's have a look. And out of this plastic carrier bag, he says, I've got this crystal ball. And he told me all the history about it, how it came to being in his possession through his family. And he said, I'd like to offer it for sale. He said, do you think anybody would be interested? I said, absolutely. It's a wonderful story. This lady, she foretold the death of Queen Victoria. Said that the leaves would fall 4 times before her long rest. It was in 1897. Of course, she passed away in 1901. At Henley Regatta, she warned Mr. Vanderbilt against sailing on the Titanic on its maiden voyage, which obviously saved his life.
Yeah.
So it's a real wonderful story. Now, it's very funny. The gentleman who brought it in, he was having a conversation with a friend of his, and this chap's 90, and the gentleman said, "Oh, did she practice in Brighton?" And I asked the vendor said yes. She said, "Well, she told my mum not to marry her current boyfriend."
That's brilliant.
It's a wonderful thing with a wonderful story behind it. And sometimes it's not the item itself, it's the story that people fall in love with.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's many stories and many facts that you've been able to pick out when you've been looking into this a little bit more, Richard. Any other little gems that you can give us?
Well, we've sold it, and it made £1,200.
Wow. So I was about to say, because I've heard that it's been sold today, so £1,200, pretty good.
Yeah. It's absolutely fantastic, yeah. We've been looking into it prior to the sale, seeing exactly how much it would make, but it wasn't giving us that much information.
and complete surprise how it came about for you too.
Well, it's wonderful, but that's the life of an auctioneer. People come through the door with bagfuls of things and a lot of the time they say, "Oh, we're not sure you're going to be interested in this," and you think, "Oh my goodness, that's wonderful." And the same as we go knocking on people's doors we obviously were invited there, and you just can't tell what's behind the door. We've got a wonderful Asian art collection next week, and that was in a flat in Hampstead, and it's 300 lots. And this was spread all around this gentleman's room, and there's some hidden gems throughout the country. And
absolutely,
as we're privileged to be invited into people's homes to track these things down.
Yeah, and just before you go, Gypsy Lee, tell us a little bit about Gypsy Lee and what involvement she had with this crystal ball too.
Well, Gypsy Lee she's from a famous long line of fortune tellers. She told the fortune for King Edward VII, William Gladstone, Lily Langtry. And this ball, the famous one was Urania Gypsy Lee Boswell. And she was the one who foretold Vanderbilt, don't go on the Titanic. And so she's from a long line of gypsies and fortune tellers. It's just one of the sort of things that it's just got a wonderful story behind it. I mean, she was obviously in Brighton. She foretold her own death, which is, a little bit sort of morbid, but equally, sadly, she foresaw her own son's death as well, and that of her brother.
Blimey.
Saying on her own death, she said, "I'll die in 3 days, and it shall rain." So, it's quite an interesting person, and she was so highly thought of in the day. She was almost like the Lady Gaga of her time. The streets were lined with mourners at her passing. She had a cortege go through the streets, and she was, the streets were sort of, 6, 7 deep, with sort of fans and people mourning.
Incredible.
So a real character.
Absolutely. It's been great catching up with you. What a brilliant story. Cheers for your
Thank
time
you.
this afternoon, Richard.
You're more than welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you
That's
very much.
Richard Harrison from Dawsons Auctioneers, on the crystal ball used by the famous Brighton fortune teller Gypsy Lee, which has gone on at auction today in Maidenhead and made £1,200. 4:45. Let's get another update now of Anushka.